Imagine how ridiculous it would be if you were the captain of a ship and you set sail with no destination. You'd end up in the middle of the ocean, being flung this way and that way by the wind. One minute you'd be facing South America, the next minute you'd be heading for Europe, and then the next you'd be headed for Africa. If you don't have the monk mode protocol that I'm about to share with you for 2024 in your life, you are essentially this captain without a ship, this vessel that has no destination, and you're just spinning around in circles. So if every year you feel like you're not making the progress you want to make, just like you can't actually stick to your word and get done what you want to get done, and you're telling yourself and you're telling other people, but nothing seems to be changing, then this is going to be the video for you, because I'm going to share with you the monk mode protocol that I've come up with for 2024. Before we get any further into the video, I want to give a word of warning right now that you may not be ready to really follow this protocol because it is pretty extreme. And so you might not be ready for this. And if you're not committed to actually seeing it through, you're not committed to at least giving it a solid try, and you're not committed to watching this entire video, then just click off right now, because essentially you're going to make your year worse by watching half of this video or a quarter of this video and then exiting out, not applying what you learned, and then, going and watching more YouTube videos and more TV and all this crap. So if you're not committed to actually following through with it, just save yourself the time right now. Save yourself the stress and the disappointment that will be in the back of your mind when you get halfway through this video and you quit, and just leave now, click off right now. All right, so after that introduction and scaring off most of the people, I can share the secrets of this monk mode protocol. So step one is going to be get rid of resolutions. Get rid of the idea of New Year's resolutions. 80% of people, there's an estimate that says 80% of people fail their New Year's resolutions by February. That means 1 month in, 80% of people have already failed. New Year's resolutions is a waste of time. And the reason why it's a waste of time is because there's no clear, specific outcome. There's no way to reverse engineer and figure out what you're supposed to do. So you hear a lot of people with their New Year's resolutions, and a lot of people you probably know are like, oh, I want to, I want to get healthier this year. Oh, I want to have a better relationship this year. Oh, I want to be nicer this year. I want to stop drinking alcohol this year. I want to make more money this year. It's very vague. It's very vague, and it has no real substance to it. So get rid of the idea of trying to do resolutions, okay? Just get rid of it. It's not worth paying attention to. What is worth paying attention to is setting goals for yourself. So if you don't have goals for 2024 of what you want, you are just a boat in the ocean spinning around in circles, being blown this way and that way by the winds of life. So don't be that kind of a person. Set goals. And how do we really get into setting goals? I want to make it really simple in this video so that it's practical, it's applicable, and you're not sitting there like, oh, this is so complicated, and you don't take any action. So what I want you to do right now, an action step that you can take, is just get out a notebook and either use a pen or a pencil, whatever, a marker, it doesn't matter. And I want you to write down like 5 to 10 goals that you're really interested in achieving this year. And just think about, if you, just to make it even simpler than that, what do you want to actually get this year? What do you want in 2024? What are some things? Write down, 5 things. If you don't have 10 things, that's fine. Do 5, do 3, do 4, 5, 6, whatever. Just write down a page full of the different wants you have in 2024. So once you've done that, come back to this video and we'll continue on with the monk mode protocol. All right, so you probably did not do what I told you to do, because I know a lot of times when I watch these type of videos, I don't actually take action either. So that's fine. You can write down the 5 to 10 goals at the end of the step. But if you did do that and you did take the action step, I want you to look at that list of goals you have and go through and just put a star or a check mark next to the one goal that is most important to you to achieve this year. We're picking one thing that's going to be our primary objective. And you may say, well, what about all the other things that I want to achieve? In this image here, you can see there's 2 circles, right? On the left-hand side, you've got the circle with a bunch of little arrows sticking out of it. In the other one, you got a circle with one long arrow sticking out of it. What does this mean? Well, basically, if you decide to try to complete a bunch of goals this year, you've got 3, 4, 5 goals, you're going to be that little circle on the left-hand side where you'll make a little bit of progress on everything, but you won't actually complete anything. You won't actually achieve anything that you want to achieve. Now, if you decide to be on the right-hand side and you follow that path where you just have one primary objective, one primary thing that you make the priority in your life, you'll make so much more progress in that, and you'll be so much more likely to actually achieve it. So in those 2 circles, the difference there is that you could actually achieve what you really want this year. You could get it done. You could do it. But if you decide to go down the path of chasing multiple rabbits, you'll catch none. Okay, you're not going to actually do this. And I know you maybe think, oh, I can do it, bro. I can do it. I've got 3, 4 goals. I can actually get it done. Well, let me tell you what. In 2023, I set only 3 goals, 3, and I managed to complete 2 of them, and kind of like 2.5 or 2.25. But I failed on my biggest goal. I failed on my primary objective. Why? Because I was distracted by all these other little goals I had set, and I was doing those first because they were easier. So hopefully I convinced you about the necessity of picking just one primary goal to focus on for the year. Now you may say, well, I don't know which one to choose. Which one out of this whole list should I choose? And it really comes down to you figuring out what is the constraint in your life right now. What is the thing that's holding you back? What is the thing that's causing you the most pain? Is it maybe, you don't have the relationship that you want to have and that's causing you the most pain and it's affecting everything else in your life? Maybe it's you don't have enough money to do the things you want to do and so you need to focus a lot on that. Maybe your health is really getting to you. Maybe you're in pain or you have some chronic pain or maybe you're overweight and you just really need to focus on losing weight this year to improve your mental image and improve your health. What is that thing that's really holding you back? And that's what you need to make your primary objective, because that's when you complete that and you actually do it this year, it'll lift everything else up. It's like if you have something that's up here and you have like an anchor attached to it, you have an anchor attached to it and it's dragging it down. When you cut that anchor off, you just start flying up. And so that's the same thing when we think about our goals. You need to pick the one that has the biggest constraint right now in your life, that's holding you back the most. That's how you decide which of those goals you're going to pick off of that list that you made of all the different things you want. That's how you're going to decide what you want to really focus on and make your primary objective and your primary goal for 2024. Now, that being said, you can have a secondary goal if you want. You can have a secondary objective. But remember, the primary objective is the priority. Let me say that again. The primary objective is the priority. Your primary goal is the priority, which means it takes precedent over everything else. It's above everything else. That is your number one goal. And so if you set a secondary goal, you can do that. It's fine to have two goals. You can work back and forth between them. But remember, when push comes to shove, when you have to decide which one should I spend time on today, what should I really focus on? You always focus on the primary one. You always focus on the priority, which is you're going to be the goal that's the number one thing that's holding you back in life, that number one constraint. And this is going to be really difficult because even with two goals, your attention is going to be split. But it's so much better than trying to do 5, 6, 10 different goals. It's like, dude, you're never going to actually make progress on any of that. Any little bit of progress you make is just going to be diffused because you're not actually going to be making headway in one direction. And I'm only saying this because it's kind of something I like to do. I like to have that secondary goal that I can sometimes focus on and take my mind off the primary one. But in reality, it'd be even better if you could just pick one. But I know a lot of us struggle with that, and maybe you have some other area of your life you want to kind of improve too. It's just you got to choose which one is going to be the main focus, and you got to keep that the priority. You cannot get distracted or let the secondary goal that you've set for yourself take precedent over the first one. Secondary one is secondary, primary one is primary, and primary is priority. This is why sacrifice is so important, because if you aren't willing to sacrifice for what you want this year, you're not willing to sacrifice all your other goals and wants for that primary objective. And this is where I believe the universe tests you, because you need to show that you're willing to sacrifice everything. You're willing to put everything you got into this primary objective. And if you're going to be distracted by so many other things, then you probably won't achieve what you want to in the time that you want to. If you want to achieve something big in a year, that takes a lot of energy and focus into it, right, bro? So think about that and think about how you're going to need to sacrifice things. You might need to say no to people, right? You might need to say no to your family, to your friends. You might need to say no to going on vacations. You might need to say no to a lot of different things. Sacrifice and saying no are a key thing to achieving your primary objective in 2024. The other thing I want to mention real quick is that your primary goal or your primary objective, it can have sub goals to it. So if you're saying, I want to get in the best shape of my life this year, maybe your goal is to increase your health, get into the gym, actually get jacked. Maybe you want to lose a lot of weight, right? Well, that's fine. You can lose a lot of weight and you can get jacked in the gym, and you can have sub goals of that. You could have, I want to bench press this amount. I want to, get to this many calories, or I want to eat this specific type of food and I want to cut out a lot of the junk food. That's fine, because the sub goals are their micro goals of the bigger one, right? The big goal you want to get to is made up of tiny goals that you need to achieve. So it's okay if you have sub goals within that big goal, as long as it's all geared in that direction. What I'm talking about is, you're trying to double your income this year. You're trying to get in the best shape of your life. You're trying to take 4 international vacations. You're trying to, date people. It's like, dude, that's not going to work. Again, go back to that diagram that I showed you where you've got the circle with many arrows pointing out, many objectives, and making tiny little bit of progress, versus the one circle with one objective, one primary objective, and just skyrocketing and just making insane progress. So now that you know why sacrifice is important and why we need to say no sometimes to different events or to people so that we can maintain our focus on our primary objective in 2024. And we've also decided on our primary objective, our North Star, right? Our big goal that we're working on. Now that we understand those two things, we can move on to the next part, which is going to be to basically forget about the North Star. So the North Star is the primary goal that you're setting this year. And the next step is to really not focus on it too much. See, the North Star is just there as a guide. But what you really need to focus on this year, and one of the biggest mistakes I made in 2023 that held me back, was focusing on the outcome that I wanted. focusing on the result that I wanted instead of focusing on the systems that I needed to get there. And so systems are really important. You need to set the initial goal so you know where you're headed, right? You've got that destination so that you're not the captain who has the ship out in the middle of the ocean spinning around in circles. But at the same time, you need to also understand that you need systems in order to get to where you want to go. And when I say systems, actions that you take every day. So if your goal is to get in the best shape of your life, instead of obsessing over that goal and saying, oh, I want a six pack, I want a six pack, I want a six pack every day, that's all you think about. You need to think about, what do I need to do to get the six pack? What actions do I need to take today to get that six pack? So maybe it means you going into the calorie deficit so you can start losing fat. Maybe it means going to the gym and setting up a schedule where you're going every other day or even every day to work out. You're exercising every day. Those are two systems that you set up to put in place that will get you the result. Because if you constantly think about the result, like I did in 2023, what happens is you get so focused on that and target psychosis about what you want and about the outcome you want that you don't actually focus in on the inputs that you need to be doing. And so you don't spend enough time focused on, these are the actions I need to take every day to get what I want. And when you start focusing on the actions you need to take, it's almost like a magical thing happens where you just get the result, because you've become the person who does those things. And this is another huge part of the monk mode protocol for 2024 is becoming the person that you want to be now. So when we think about choices and systems and all these kind of things and different actions we need to take every day, it's like you need to become this identity, this new identity. You need to shift your identity into becoming this person who can essentially be the person in the future that you want to be. If you want to escape that 9 to 5 and you want to start an online business, who is the person that does that? Is it the person that comes home and watches TV after work? Or is it the person who comes home and, creates some YouTube content or starts working on whatever type of business it might be? If you want to lose weight, is that the kind of person who, goes and eats fast food every day or goes and eats a bunch of sugar and excess calories every day? Or is it the person who makes healthy choices in terms of their diet? So you got to start thinking also not only systems and goals, but in the moment, who am I? Who am I the person that I need to be in order to actually achieve what I want to achieve? So there's a lot that has to do with your identity and your self-image when it comes to this monk mode protocol, because you have to change who you are to get different results, right? If you want different results than what you've been getting, you have to literally change who you are. You have to become a new person with new habits and a new mindset in order to get those results. So the next step of the protocol is going to be dopamine detoxing and avoiding cheap dopamine. So a lot of us struggle with cheap dopamine, especially us younger guys and younger generation who grow up with all the technology and different things. It's so easy to get distracted by TV, by drugs, by alcohol, by your phone and social media, right? Video games, porn, all these types of things will sap your willpower. Just picture every time you do one of these activities, it's sapping your willpower and stealing your energy away from your primary objective. So your primary objective is over here, right? That you want to achieve this year. And then there's all these other things over here, like I mentioned, all the cheap dopamine, and your brain wants this cheap dopamine. And the reason why it wants it is because it's much easier to get the pleasure and get that really feeling good, feeling from actually going for the quick stuff. And it doesn't want to do the hard work. So over here is your primary objective. And guess what? This is going to be hard work, quote unquote hard work. Not really compared to like our ancestors or anything, but hard work for today. Hard work over here. And then over here, you got the cheap dopamine, which is all your easy habits that you've probably been doing. Video games, porn, drugs, alcohol, weed, what else? Eating a bunch of sugar, junk food, whatever those things might be for you. Okay. That's over here. And then over here is your primary objective. If you spend all your time on here, the problem with that is that all your energy and your willpower and all the chi you have that would go into achieving your primary objective gets sucked away into here. And so it's almost like it's sucking you into like a lifeless corpse, basically, who doesn't have the inspiration and who doesn't have the drive to be over here working on the primary objective. So you have to understand, the more you can avoid these things, the more you can cut out these things, the more your brain is literally going to be like a missile. It's going to be like a missile just headed for your primary objective. You know why? Because there's nothing else for it to do. When your brain gets bored, there's literally nothing else for it to do except go like a target after this. Because when you achieve this is going to give you a lot of pleasure, right? Because you're going to be like, wow, I achieved my goal. That's great. My whole life has changed. But if you're spending all your time over here, yeah, it feels good now, but that's called instant gratification. If you want this over here, it's going to be delayed gratification. And over here is instant gratification. And if you stick with this all year, you stick with this over here all year, you're not going to achieve it. It's just not going to happen because you won't spend enough time. And all this time we're spending video games and TV and all this crap, it's essentially clouding your mind and your creativity from finding solutions over here. And it also clouds, like I mentioned, your drive and your want and desire to actually work on those things. So be aware of that this year. Think about what you could do to minimize or even cut out This is not the monk mode protocol for people who don't want to take this seriously. So yes, when I say cut out those things, I mean cut out. I don't know which one of those things you're addicted to right now, but you probably just thought of it, right? You probably thought of it. You probably know which one I'm talking about. Out of all the cheap dopamine over here, which one of them, or multiple, or all of them, are you addicted to? You got to work on cutting those out. You got to work on resisting those and focusing your energy over here if you really want to achieve what you want to achieve in 2024. It's really important that you find your why. It's really important that you understand why you've chosen this primary objective. It's really important to understand why you have that primary objective, that secondary objective, those two goals that you've decided to choose, or even that one goal. I really hope you didn't go over two, man, because I told you it's not going to work. Don't do it. Learn from my mistakes, okay? So that one goal you have, or those two goals that you have, why do you have those? What's the purpose behind those? You got to think about that, because you can do all these things that I'm telling you, but if your heart isn't truly into what you're doing, if you're not really there and you're just doing it because maybe, society wants you to, or your parents want you to, and it doesn't align with your purpose, and it doesn't align with your ideal life in the future, you're actually going to be misaligned. And so your energies, the thoughts that you have and the feelings that you have will be misaligned, and you won't actually be able to move forward and achieve what you want to in 2024. So think about that. So these two videos, the one you're watching right now and the other one I made, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days ago or something like that, I laid out a literal roadmap for you to figure out what you want in 2024, how to make it the greatest year of your life, and how to kind of figure out what your purpose and your ideal life looks like. So if you watch that video and this video, these are really the only two videos you need in 2024 to be successful. Like if you combine those two, you're off to like a start that like 99% of people don't even understand or even have. So it's really kind of like high level stuff in a way right now. If you've never like thought about stuff this way, like in terms of goals and planning and all this, it kind of seems like it's high level and complicated. But once you get it down, your life becomes so much clearer. Your goals become so much clearer. The actions that you're taking every day become so much clearer. It's no longer like sitting around every day being like, oh man, I wish I could get this. I don't know how to do it though, and then being disappointed in yourself. And then another year goes by and you still haven't done anything. You haven't achieved anything. And yet, all the people around you are like, dude, you said you were going to do that. And then you never ended up doing it. So you feel like a failure. You feel depressed. And then it's just a downward spiral from there. You don't want to be stuck in that place. So I'm telling you right now, follow this protocol. Watch that other video. And the one thing I'm going to ask you from watching this video is just simply to give it a try. Just take this protocol, take all this information and apply it, please, bro. Don't waste all the time that I've wasted. I've wasted years figuring out all this. Don't waste it. Don't be stupid. Don't think that you can do it. Don't think that you can, I can have 10 goals and still be successful. Just stop, please. Please just listen to me when I say that if you follow this, okay, I truly believe that this monk mode protocol plus that other video will absolutely help you in 2024 become the person that you were meant to be.